Okay, so the previous video was on Zazen and Zen and uh, the power of suggestion, I guess you should say. It all comes down to the mind. The mind and the body, the separation, the connection, the control, the ability to transcend those emotional weight restraints to recognize that this is just brain chemistry, get it in gear. As a person who has dealt with mood swings that do their own thing, I've learned how to do this. It's not always easy, it doesn't always work, but it's a thing that I work on. The radio news is talking about kids in masks in school. I don't have a dog in the race, but we all kind of have a dog in the race. So I'm not sure, but I may have just the other day overheard somebody's phone conversation. Not that I was listening to their phone, but like they were on the phone near me, where it sounds like maybe there are a number of parents around here that are like, hey, wait a minute. Do you think that thing they're talking about on the news and the internet and that the certain news just says isn't a thing, but other people are like, no, it's a thing. Do you think that's a thing here? That's needed. It's necessary. They need to. This town has been so apathetic. It is such an old freaking town, but the people here just. It's hard to describe. A lot of people. A lot of people are already like, nah. So the other people who have yet to come to that realization, what they are now seeing on the news is, you remember old Water Relief? You remember old anybody but that other guy? He said mean things on the internets. And the whole shebang with effectively nailing the coffin shut on our actual ability to have a say in our representation and our governance. Nailing a coffin shut and being told, nah, there's no coffin, nothing's nailed shut, and you just watched it happen. Anytime the government says, don't believe your lying eyes, bad things happen. So, what the normies, the people who, I don't know why, and I'm not judging, I'm just saying, the people who are just going with it. Well, I don't know what else, I better obey. They are now seeing on the news that the water relief guy, that at least he's not the other guy, has botched, rolled a zero, as they say in the gaming circles. He has botched in Afghanistan after the military, and no, let's take it even further back. After the entirety of the time that we've been there, the reasoning given for why we went there. The fact that the dude that we went there after was apprehended in a different country, died elsewhere. And after that point, we stayed there. when they tried to teach the locals how to do the military, how to defend themselves. It was a derp fest. If that's the case, let's apply the same thing to what's going on here. If they didn't like the Taliban, they'd be more serious. I've heard that somebody said that some of those fucking people from their hillsides out in Afghanistan seriously believed that we were there to fight dragons. Tribal people. Isolated shepherds or apple growers, or I don't know, maybe they grew the poppies, but they had their own little bubble out. No idea of the outside world. And we're there trying to talk to those people about democracy. They weren't just modern internet connected people. A lot of those people out there were disconnected, living on a hillside, having zero clue. And why do I say it's a botch? Not because the Taliban have retaken Kabul. Not because of any of that. I say it's a botch because they did not remove or destroy the materiel, the probably guns, ammo, vehicles. Question of whether there are still drones there. Do they have control of those drones? Those things require computer systems. If they took the computer systems at least. But Jesus fuck. If they left the computer systems there and on with the password written down next to it, what's going to happen? That's why I say botched. Whoever did that had to have done that on purpose. So the normies are now seeing this in the news cycle to distract from the fact that the fucking nothing they told everyone to do, nothing our entire society was divided and thrown into meat grinders over, of varying grades of fineness. Over argument, over social ostracization, over all of it, the divide and conquer. Nothing that they put through that bullshit machine did anything. It's been almost 2 years since the thing has been out. It was August of 2019 at the that's the latest early date that I go by. That somewhere in there, or the previous spring, maybe the times when the people that were handling the bats that the virus came from, supposedly. There are other claims of it being edited together, but I don't know. In that time, none of the measures, even the strictest safety measures, were able to contain it once they made it transmissible to people and among the world of people and domesticated creatures. Because dogs and cats can get it too, and other animals now. There is a universal cold. To distract from the fact that Holy shit! Do you mean to tell me that none of that shit mattered? That's what I'm saying. Is it didn't matter. None of it mattered. If you were ill and kept yourself away from people and then disinfected your house, but it's the same as with the bad cold or with the flu. If you don't do all the laundry and everything else, once you're better, you'll get sick again. So all this craziness that we've been through, and now it's okay for the news to rag on the president for what somebody under his command did. There was a report of some sort that the certain parts of the military were they were compromised by the fact that they were so focused on political concepts rather than being a standing military force. And I don't know of the footage that I've seen in Afghanistan how much of it is real. There was motherfuckers falling off of airplanes. They were held on to the outside of these high altitude planes, and the planes took off and did their thing. And it was like, sorry, bro, hang on. But come on, dude, who's hanging on to the outside of an airplane for a couple hours? So people fell off from the look of it. And the people taken over there are harsh and cruel. But when they tried to train the locals did not seem to care. They didn't seem to get it. So, the previous video pertained to that which you can do nothing about. And I'm not playing, well, if Trump had, because I don't know that it would have gone any differently. I think that the Taliban were kind of the same as what we've seen with North Korea. Act all nice and do the gestures and have a good time and immediately go back to doing what you were doing before, openly. Give it some time, peace talks again, try again, do it ever so often, receive a handout every time or something. So the Taliban being in agreement of ceasefire at the time when Trump was trying to do it, I don't know. I'm not sure if I buy that. So there are a number of states looking into their own elections. It has become a hot topic. It has become a thing that they have to address. And I believe, at least on the state level, they will always be able to effectively shut down the hyperbolic partisan actors. I've seen in a few different places. I can't remember a list, but I know that the Arizona was one. I think Georgia had a bit. There were a few other places I've seen too that, where was it? Was it Michigan? Yeah, I think it was Michigan. Where you had somebody trying to grandstand and make noise, and they were basically doing a less offensive version of that guy that killed his wife and daughter or girlfriend and her daughter, and then tried to kill the son too or something. Or the guy with the spiky hair that defended himself in court and was screaming at the jury. these people do a less offensive version of that, but it's just like narcissistic injury. It's just, you just get preachy and you get noisy and you just, how dare you? The one in Michigan, the lady was just like, well, proud Detroiters, and how dare you say that about people from Detroit? And it's like, dude, we're just talking about the fact that some people who may or may not have lived here did a thing that we've got some evidence of. And I think Arizona had a similar one, and kind of the opposite happened in Fulton County, because they had the video of the 4 people operating after they had sent the counters and the observers home, multiple counting several ballots, had one of the people working with them was one of the legislators who was at that session. And everybody kept being like, so who's that? Who's that right there? The normies barely know about that. They are hearing about this Afghanistan stuff. They are now no longer hearing as much about the whole mask thing, because it's like, dude, Kobayashi Maru. Do you attempt to rescue the ship because you'll get court-martialed if you don't? Or do you say, oops, I guess we couldn't help them, and have to possibly deal with the repercussions? It's a captain's test. But the Kobayashi Maru is a trap. If you enter, you can't survive. You will be destroyed. All hands lost. And you can't pretend that you know that it's a trap, because they're asking for help. So, the normies are being distracted from the Kobayashi Maru of COVID. They are marginally, if at all, aware of all of the states that are legit starting to talk about it, unless they are starting to hear other people talk about it. But it's a very scary concept that a real big lie has been told, that this thing we've been doing and cherishing for how long isn't what we think it is. Well, then, how long has it been that way? At what point did the process become farcical, shall we say? Which is a good question. In Australia, they've got effectively martial law under medical tyranny. South Africa had a gargantuan riot that the cops joined in on, that the military had to quell. There are a large number of countries that are just locking down, and people are going with it. Even though nothing anybody is doing anything. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive, to get to see something like this happen. A lot of the civilization that is collapsing has been some bullshit for a while. Constructed nonsense, built on lies, reinforced by lies. That I don't mind seeing go. But the individual liberties are a thing that need to stay. Everyone has that right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I believe, whether they are American citizens or not. Those are the inalienable God-given rights, and all other articulations, as laws put, are simply ways of saying these people have these same rights. If you want to live, you have the right to live. You want to be free, you have the right to be free, to do as you will. Accepting that thou do no harm, although harm is a definition. Pursuit of happiness, this is the thing. If you're trying to do something to improve yourself, you should have a right to do so. That's how that should be interpreted. So that's kind of the opposite of the mentality that is spreading like a virus elsewhere in the world. All articulations of those three things as a society, it's automatic that you should not be infringing on others to pursue your own. It shouldn't have to be stated. We are looking at the fall of an empire. But what some of us may not realize is the extent of this empire. Not talking about America. Not talking about Western civilization. I am talking about the consumerist, uniparty, corrupt military industrial, whatever industrial, the omni-industrial plex complex. Empire. But it does definitely have the hallmarks of a controlled demolition of an empire for a new one to be built in its place. And the question is, do we need another empire? When we could have a place where people live and be free and do the things that they have passion for. So it's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, I've got a day's worth of things to do ahead of me after making these, and I don't know. You'll see them when you see them. Any other results I have will come up later this week. I believe Thursday I work, so Thursday is probably the soonest that I'll get some of it uploaded if it's a large chunk. Good day.